If you've been watching the financial news lately, you probably feel like you're watching a slow-motion car crash involving a clown car, a tanker truck full of nitroglycerin, and your retirement savings all together. It's terrifying. You spend 40 years building a life. You buy the house, you save the money, you follow the rules, and then you wake up at 3 a.m. with that cold, clammy realization that it could all disappear. A frivolous lawsuit, a market collapse that wipes out 40% of the S&P, a creditor coming after you because of a business deal that went sideways faster than a toddler on a greased slide. And the worst part? The anxiety isn't that you'll lose some of it. The anxiety is that you are completely exposed, that you are walking through a financial war zone wearing nothing but a terrifyingly small towel. But here's the thing that the smart money knows, that the banks know, and that the litigators definitely know, but somehow forgot to tell you. You can hide your assets. And I don't mean hide like burying a coffee can full of Krugerrands in the backyard next to the grave of your childhood hamster, Mr. Whiskers, although I'm not against that. But right now, I'm talking about hiding them in plain sight. I mean, placing them in specific legal containers that act like invisible force fields. Assets that sit on your balance sheet, staring creditors right in the face while you stand behind a pane of bulletproof glass, waving politely and saying, you can look, but you cannot touch. So in this video, we're going to look at the 7 specific assets that survived the crash, survived the lawsuit, and survived the chaos. Welcome to the fortress. And let's begin with the conspiracy of vulnerability, because that is what this feels like, doesn't it? It feels like the entire system is designed to keep your money liquid, visible, and grabbable. When you keep your money in a standard checking account or a standard brokerage account, you are effectively standing on a street corner holding a neon sign that says, sue me. If a judge slams a gavel, that money is gone. If a bank fails and the FDIC is taking a nap, that money is frozen. But the smart money does not operate this way. They don't rely on luck. They rely on structure. They understand a concept called creditor proofing. It's the financial equivalent of wearing a suit of armor to a knife fight. And look, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, but I'm not a billionaire. I don't have a Swiss banker named Hans who skis to work. Doesn't matter. Most of these tools are things you might already have or could set up by next Tuesday. We're talking about 7 specific assets that are essentially invisible to the people trying to take them. And the first one, it's gonna shock you because it is incredibly boring. It is the beige cardigan of the financial world, but it does get better and quickly. Asset number 1, the ERISA-protected 401k. And I know, you were expecting diamonds. You were expecting cryptocurrency on a thumb drive swallowed by a goat. But listen to me. Your 401k, it's a tank. Federal law, specifically the Employee Retirement Income Security Act of 1974, or ERISA for short, wraps your employer-sponsored 401k in a layer of protection so thick a nuclear warhead couldn't scratch it. Legally, these funds generally have unlimited protection from creditors. If you go bankrupt, they can't touch it. If you get sued for $10 million because your dog bit a mailman who turned out to be a hand model, they can't touch it. Creditors can strip the paintings off your walls, they can take your second car, they can take your non-qualified brokerage account, but they have to stand at the edge of your 401k and weep. And it gets better. This protection applies even in bankruptcy, as I mentioned. So when people tell you to max out your 401k for the tax break, they're missing the point. You aren't just saving on taxes. You are shoveling money into a vault that has no door. It's hidden because it's right there on the paperwork, but legally, it doesn't exist for them. But wait, because if you think that's good, let's talk about your house. Asset number 2, the primary residence, but only if you live in the right place. This is where geography becomes destiny. This is called the Homestead exemption. Every state has one, but some states treat it like a joke, and others treat it like a religion. If you live in a state like New Jersey or Pennsylvania, the protection is, let's call it cute. It's negligible. But if you live in Florida, Texas, Kansas, or Iowa, the protection is unlimited. You could own a $20 million mansion in Florida. You could owe $50 million to a creditor, and that creditor cannot force the sale of your home to pay the debt. This is why you see famous CEOs and politicians suddenly move to Boca Raton right before a scandal breaks. They aren't going for the humidity. They're not even necessarily going for the tax break either. They are going for the force field. They are literally pouring their liquid cash, which is vulnerable, into home equity, which is invincible. That would be the P. Diddy maneuver. It is the ultimate magic trick. Now you see the money, poof, now it's a living room. And you get to live in the savings account. But let's escalate this. Let's say you want to protect cash, but you don't want it locked up in your house or a retirement plan until you're 60. Asset number 3, whole life insurance cash value. And stop rolling your eyes. I can see it already. I can hear you already. Oh, Dave Ramsey told me whole life is a scam. Dave Ramsey is great for people who can't handle a credit card without eating it. For wealth protection, we're playing a different game. In many states, Texas, Florida, Nevada, the cash value inside a life insurance policy is 100% protected from creditors. It grows tax deferred, you can borrow against it, and if you get sued, it is invisible. It is a private banking system that operates parallel to the actual banking system. Doctors, they use this all the time. Why? Because doctors get sued. It's an occupational hazard. So they park hundreds of thousands of dollars in high cash value policies. The plaintiff attorney looks at the doctor's assets and sees a fortress. But we're just warming up, because those are the domestic polite assets. Now we need to talk about what happens when the dollar itself starts looking shaky. Asset number 4, precious metals, gold and silver. This is the asset you can literally hide, like physically hide. But more importantly, it is the asset that hides you from the financial system itself. In 2008, and again during the pandemic, we saw what happens when the paper market sees up. Counterparty risk explodes. I mean, if you own a stock, you rely on the company. If you own a bond, you rely on the government. If you own a gold coin, you rely on physics. Gold is the only financial asset that is not someone else's liability. It is completely off the grid. And look, I'm not telling you to go full doomsday prepper and start canning peaches in a bunker, although I'm not against that either. But having 5 to 10% of your wealth in physical metals, it's not paranoia, it's insurance. It is portable wealth. If you need to leave, you can take it with you. Now, let's get sophisticated. What if you have a lot of assets, stocks, real estate, cash, and you don't want to move to Florida or buy gold? You use a legal bear trap. Asset number 5, the Family Limited Partnership, the FLP. This is my favorite one. It is deliciously evil in how it treats creditors. And here's how it works. You take your assets and you put them into an FLP. You are the general partner. You control everything. If someone sues you personally, they're trying to get the assets inside the partnership, but they can't because of a beautiful little legal concept called the charging order. If a creditor wins a judgment against you, the court cannot force the FLP to liquidate assets to pay them. The court can only give them a charging order, which means the creditor gets the right to receive any distributions if you decide to make them. So you, the general partner, just decide not to make any distributions. Now, look, I'm not a lawyer. I'm just a guy who can read and Googles things all the way to page 2. And here's what I found. You keep the money in the partnership, you reinvest it, you buy more assets. The creditor gets $0. But, and here's the punchline, the IRS requires the creditor to pay the income taxes on the money they didn't receive because the partnership made a profit on paper. It's called phantom income. I mean, imagine suing someone, winning, getting $0, and then getting a tax bill from the IRS for the money you didn't get. It is the ultimate get off my lawn move. Most creditors will settle for pennies on the dollar just to avoid that nightmare. Asset number 6, the Offshore Asset Protection Trust. Now we're going nuclear. We're talking about the Cook Islands or Nevis. And this is not about tax evasion. Do not evade taxes. That is a great way to go to prison. This is about asset protection. These jurisdictions, they've got laws that basically say, we don't care what a U.S. judge says. If a creditor wants to get assets out of a Cook Islands trust, they have to fly to the Cook Islands. They have to hire a local Cook Islands lawyer. They have to pay the court costs in advance. And they have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you committed fraud. The statute of limitations is tiny. The burden of proof, though, is massive. It is legally impenetrable. It turns your assets into a ghost. And finally, asset number 7, tangible collectibles, art, classic cars, wine. This is the fun bunker. During the financial collapse of 2008, while the S&P 500 was melting down like a snowman in a sauna, the value of high-end collectibles actually held firm or even went up. Why? Because they're real, they are scarce, and they are non-financial. A creditor looking for bank accounts might miss the $200,000 wine collection in the cellar. It is harder to value, harder to seize, and harder to sell. Plus, if the economy crashes, at least you can drink the wine. You can't drink a stock certificate. I mean, you can try, but I had a good punchline for that, but I think I've maxed out my cute. Besides, I can feel the hesitation, seriously. I can feel that little voice in the back of your head saying, wait a minute, isn't this shady? Isn't this what the bad guys do in movies? Am I turning into a villain? I get it. We are trained to believe that being good means being exposed. We are taught that if you have nothing to hide, you should have nothing to protect. That is nonsense. That is absolute, unmitigated garbage. Do you have locks on your doors? Do you have passwords on your email? Do you wear a seatbelt? Of course you do. Asset protection is not about hiding from your responsibilities. It's about protecting yourself from a predatory system that is designed to strip mine the middle class, both lower and upper. We live in the most litigious society in the history of human civilization. There are more lawyers in the US than there are soldiers in the active duty military. Think about that. There is a literal army of people whose entire business model is to find a way to take what you have earned. Using these assets, using the law, it's not cheating, it's just reading the rule book. Smart money reads the rule book. The average person just reads the headlines. I want you to be the person who reads the rule book. So, here's the pivot. Here's the Jason Bourne moment that you've come to expect. You are waking up on the fishing boat. You don't remember who you are, but you have a set of skills. You are dangerous because now you know where the trap doors are. So what do? What is the actual tactical move you make today? Step 1, check your state's homestead exemption. Google that right now. Homestead exemption limit, insert your state. If it says $30,000 and you have $500,000 in equity, you are exposed. You need to think about umbrella insurance at least, or maybe, just maybe, it's time to move to a state that actually respects your property rights. Step 2, look at your 401k differently. Stop seeing it as just a retirement account. Start seeing it as your legal vault. I mean, if you're debating between paying down the mortgage extra fast or maxing the 401k, remember the 401k is protected by federal law. The home equity might not be. Step 3, if you have significant assets, explore the FLP. Talk to an asset protection attorney, not your divorce lawyer, not the guy who did your closing, a specialist. Check out my friend Mark over at kkoslawyers.com. They don't pay me anything for that. It's just who I use. Best in the business, in my opinion. They're fun and they make things really easy to understand. Ask them about charging order protection. Watch their eyes light up and tell them Epic sent you. Maybe it'll get me invited to the Christmas party this year. But seriously, here is the reality. We are heading into choppy waters. The economy, it's weird. Inflation is sticky. The geopolitical situation, it's a mess. The people who get hurt in a crisis are the people who are rigid, the people who are easy targets. The people who survive, the people who thrive, are the ones who built the ark before the rain started. You treat your assets like a fortress. You layer your defenses. You put the cash in the policy. You put the equity in the protected home. You put the investments in the FLP. You become a puzzle that is too expensive to solve. But there's still one massive glaring crack in that fortress wall that we haven't fixed yet. And honestly, it's the one that freaks me out the most because right now, even with all these legal shields, you are still suffering from a total lack of anonymity. You can build the strongest vault in the world, but it doesn't matter if you paint your home address and the combination on the front door in neon paint. That is exactly what the county recorder's website is doing to you right now. It is basically Tinder for con artists. Any predator with an internet connection can look up your address, see exactly what you bought it for, see exactly how much equity you have, and see your full legal name stamped right next to the dollar signs. You are on a public hit list, and you didn't even sign up for it. So the final layer of the fortress isn't just protection, it's invisibility. And that's why I pulled this video right here out for you to watch next. It's about scrubbing your name off the public databases so that when they come looking for you, they find absolutely nothing. It's the difference between wearing a bulletproof vest and simply not being there to even get shot.